Hey guys, for this video, we're going to be going over why you need to add express balayage, express foilayage services to your menu if you haven't already done it yet. Under 2 hours roughly and $150 plus haircut, this is a really big moneymaker in little time. So keep watching to see how we tackle this service. You can follow me over on Instagram at Christy@the_cottage. For this service, we're going to be using my favorite bleach, Schwarzkopf Blonde Me with 20 volume and Olaplex. Okay, here's my client's before. It's been since probably like 5 months or so that she's gotten her hair done, and she is liking her natural color, so she wants to stay really rooty, just more sun-kissed and brighten up a little bit, but more blended and low maintenance. So we're gonna get into this service. Okay, so right here I'm checking her hairline out to see exactly how these foils are going to lay, because you really do kind of have to be a little bit more specific because this is a limited amount of work that we're doing and they know this going into the service. So I'm just making sure that I'm covering where she parts her hair, because I don't want to have any like dark spots. If I just went straight across the center, then she wouldn't have that brightness of a money piece like on the side of her head. So because she does part her hair on the side, we're going to go diagonally kind of across where she parts her hair and make sure we get good coverage there. And she did say, I asked her, she wants to be able to go a while without coming in super regularly. She wants to be able to have low maintenance hair, not be super bright like she was previously. So because of that, we're not going to do the typical hairline foil that we normally do. And I was going to try and back comb it and have a little bit softer of a money piece, but because she parts that on the side, it's a little bit harder to get enough of a cushion or enough of a back comb, because you know those temple hairs are really fine and thin and hard to back comb. So I did have to do a little bit higher up and a little bit closer than what I wanted to, but it still looked good in the end, and it will still blend really nicely because we weaved it, we back combed it. So even though it's not as much of a shadowy money piece as what I wanted, it still looks good and she's still happy with it. So to start, we're just going to go do a few foils directly where she parts her hair. We're going to do it underneath because everything, we want it to be really natural looking. So we're going to go where she parts her hair and we're going to kind of go diagonally underneath that, back comb it, weave it, push that up really close. And we're just going to get tight more just in this little area right here, right along the hairline, just to get a little bit brighter. And we're just going to do these 2 foils. If it was somebody that parts their hair straight down the center, then all you'd have to do is the 2 foils straight on this at the very top of their hairline. But because she parts it a little bit further on the side, we do have to do a little bit more foil work than what this service initially intends for. But you know, every client is different, so just do what you need to do. So now we're going to go on this side, and because the hair does fall a little bit heavier over here, we do have to do a little bit more foil work on this side also. So this is what I'm talking about. You can see that little area right there at the temple. It's really hard to get those hairs. So that's why we do have to go up a little bit higher than what I really want to, because or else she would have no brightness right at that temple area. So in those areas, you do have to go a little bit higher up to the roots, I feel like, just to make sure they have that brightness around the face that they're wanting. You guys, I feel like I go on and on sometimes, and so I feel like I re-listened to that back like 5 times, and I'm just like, does that make sense? Does it not make sense? So I hope that makes sense. So I really like the idea of going back diagonally from where they part the hair, just right at the front of the hairline, instead of going like straight across, because I feel like this helps get that brightness and that soft highlighted dimension that they want, and it kind of helps cover the side parts of the head, and it eliminates having to go in heavy-handed doing a whole bunch of foils, where if you just go like straight around the whole hairline, then now you have to also do the whole sides of the head too, where because we're going diagonally back off the hairline, this already covers part of the side of the head. I don't know if that makes any sense, but this is why this service is so great to have, because it's such a minimal amount of work. I think I talk about this and a lot of other people comment about it, where sometimes as hairstylists, like when somebody says they want blonde, we just automatically think like, okay, blonde, like they want to be super bright and they really want to feel like super bright and blonde for the summer, and that's not necessarily always the case. So we always feel like we have to go in a little bit like heavier handed, do like more foils, less subsections, like get the foils in a lot heavier, and then now we've completely over blonded them and they've lost their dimension. So I think this is such a good service to offer, because right off the bat they already know like this isn't going to be a heavily blonded service. If somebody wants to come in and if they've never had their hair done before, or if they're trying to grow out their roots to have more low maintenance color, or maybe have a little bit more of a rooty look or a soft blonde or more whatever, like this is perfect, because you can market this as being like, okay, this is what I did on my Instagram. I went on there and I said, I have an opening for an express balayage, an express foilayage service, and it's for an hour and a half to 2 hours at the most. And we're just going to put in as much as we can in that time frame that we have for the overall service amount of time. And we're going to focus the brightness around the face and just pop in a few foils like on the sides of the head, like literally 2 or 3 foils on the sides of the head underneath their part. That way just kind of breaks up the roots a little bit and they get a little bit more of a sun-kissed look, and like 2 or 3 in the very back, and that is it. Like I did do a little bit more foil work on this client just because of where she parts her hair, but if she parted her hair straight down the center, then that probably would have honestly gotten rid of like 5 foils. So, and that's like almost half of the work that I had to do. So, but it's okay, because the whole goal of this service is to make sure we're focusing the brightness around the face, because usually in summertime, or if somebody's blonde, that's where it counts, right around the face. So if you let people know like, hey, we're not going for full blonde, but you're going to feel nice and bright around your hairline, around the face, we're going to blend it out like a few foils underneath, your part, so it kind of shows through a little bit. Like that's what this is perfect for somebody that just wants to come in. Not everybody wants to spend 3 to 5 hours at the salon getting their hair done. So this is perfect for somebody that just wants to come in and out. They don't want to stay here all day. They don't want to be super blonde anymore, or maybe they just want a more natural style, a more natural color. And this is great to offer those services, because I wouldn't even call this a partial foil, because it's not like you're not going in like a partial foil pattern. You're doing probably less foil work or less balayage work as a partial foil, but the truth is it is a lot of work to know exactly where to place the foils, to know how much of a weave to do to back comb it, and then afterwards, the combing out of the back comb and all of that stuff. So that's why I like to consider this more of a dimensional color, more of an express balayage foilayage, because they're still getting that balayage look that they want, but it's not like a full balayage at like $250 or whatever. So if you guys don't have this on your services, I really highly recommend it, because I mean, if you an hour and a half to 2 hours, 2, 4, 6, you could do like 4 of these in a day if you work like 8 hours or whatever. And you guys know my math sucks, so how much is that? Like that could be like $600 or something, because remember, this is the $150 is just for the color part of the service. If they want to trim, then you add that on at like what, $30-$40 or whatever. That's immediately like $180 right there for an hour and a half. That's pretty good. So work smarter, not harder. Okay, add easier services like this and you guys will do really well, because I've noticed like my wrists and hands don't work by adding more simple services like this. And I don't want to say simple as in, you know, it's hardly any work. You're still creating a really nice look, a nice balayage look, foilyage, whatever, but you're just not going in there and doing the whole head. You're leaving a lot of dimension, but you're putting the brightness in the key points where it matters and where they're gonna appreciate it the most, versus, you know, painting through the ends and doing all of this stuff, or heavy around the face or whatever. Like, it's a simple service, but I feel like you get a lot of brightness where you want it to be, but you still have it nice and blended throughout the rest of the hair. So that's why I like to call it an express balayage, because they still get that nice rooty look, that super blended look, but they have the brightness where they want it the most. And you can ask them, like, where does it matter to you to have the brightness? Do you want it directly on top of your part? Do you want it mostly around your face? Like, that's kind of the goal, to keep it nice and bright around the face. And you'll see at the very end when I'm done foiling that I'm laying the hair down. I'm looking to see how everything is going to fall, because I want to make sure that it's even where she parts her hair. I want to make sure that she's going to be able to see the brightness underneath, but not that it's too heavy right on top that she's going to notice any grow out. So because that's what she expressed to me, that's kind of what she wants, that's why I didn't put anything on the very, very top of her hair. I did kind of everything more underneath, and then she has that curtain of her natural hair falling on top. So you can see right here, I'm kind of pulling the hair and seeing where it's going to fall. I'm lifting that up, and then, like, people ask how I part the hair. I don't really part the hair. I section the hair and I just grab it how it falls, because I feel like if you stay in a box that's like to part the hair and section it this way, then you're kind of taking your creativity out of the service, and maybe you're parting it in a certain way, but the hair you're like forcing a hair to move over where it wouldn't naturally fall. So that's why I prefer just to kind of lay the hair out, see where it's going to fall at, and then see right there, I'm kind of looking to see how it's going to fall, and then just kind of pick up the hair from there. So everything is going to be underneath, but she'll still see it through, and then she'll still have that depth laying on top. This is what I'm using for her toner, and because she wants to be nice and bright and cool but not necessarily ashy, I'm doing equal parts of all of the 10s and the 9, but with the rose gold, I'm just adding like the smallest little drop. It's not measurable or anything, literally just a few little drops of the rose gold to make sure that balances out the porosity of the hair and that it doesn't over grab or over process and go too ashy. So also another point, when you're toning the hair, make sure you leave the hairline last, because that hair is so fine that it will really suck up and absorb the toner, and then it will go really dark and you'll lose that brightness. So let it sit for a few minutes and then go through the hairline the last few minutes, and that will tone out really nicely. So here's her hair. You can see that she has that brightness definitely towards the front, but she still has those really soft highlighted pieces through the crown area. So we're just going to go through and blow dry so you can see how it looks more in its natural state, where it's just kind of dry and straight, not necessarily curled. I feel like sometimes people curl the hair and then you can make it look good, but I like to show you guys how it looks just naturally as it falls. So you can see how nice and blended it is. She still has that brightness, sun-kissed look, but she still is very rooty still. So now we're gonna go through and style her hair. I feel like it's interesting. I've had quite a few people coming in that previously were very heavily blonde or even were almost solid blonde last summer, and then now we're coming into this summer and they're kind of embracing their natural roots. And what happened was with shutdowns last year and people not being able to come in and get their hair done, I feel like when they finally were able to get their hair done, they were like, I don't care, I just want to go super blonde and be as bright as I can be, because they had to wait so long with the shutdowns to get into the salon. But now I feel like because they've been able to come in and their hair has grown out, whatever, I think they're kind of like, I don't want to be as bright, but I still want to be like considered a blonde, but just more of a softer blonde. So I just think that's interesting. My clients that were normally really bright have definitely toned down and softened it up a little bit more. And I just think that has to do with like just dying to be brighter last year. But anyways, I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Let me know, because I think it's kind of funny and interesting. But anyways, so here's her color. We're just gonna finish the style. And look at those pretty ribs of blonde kind of showing through. And we're just going to comb out her hair. And this is how I style all of my clients' hair. Just curl everything towards the back center and let it dry with the hairspray. And then let it sit for a few minutes and then comb it out. And then it kind of creates that nice wave effect where everything kind of blends together. I like styling that way. A lot of my clients like it. So yeah, that's how I do all of my clients' hair.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's just what I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it because it still looks natural and it's still, yeah, you nailed it.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it.
Okay, you guys, here's her before again. You can see her roots blend, but she's still a little bit heavier blonde through the ends and she doesn't want to be that bright. So here's the before and here is the after. You can see how much better it blends into her roots, nice and bright around the face, but just really soft and subtle through the crown area, but still blending really nicely in through the ends. And you guys always say I never show the front very much, so I'm just trying to really make sure I get that in because you guys always ask. And just really soft, slight dimension through the back and everything. And the total cost for the service was $180. And it did take a little bit longer just because of the processing time. But other than that, this generally is a really quick service. And I think it's a really great idea to add this to your menu if you want just a quick express balayage in and out service. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.